Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of That Sounds Fun. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. I'm really happy to be here with you today. We have got a great show in store. Before we talk about anything else, I got to know, which city are you coming to for the Here For You tour? Is it Grand Rapids or Indy, Kansas City, Dallas, Charlotte, Columbus, or any of the other fun stops? Well, you've got some time to pick a city, plan a road trip if we are not coming right to your neighborhood. Carlos Whitaker and I cannot wait to see you. Just go to hereforyoutour.com for all the details. I'm telling y'all, you do not want to miss these nights. And even though we've tried to make it easy, you know we're not expecting you to remember that URL and everything. Just pop to the show notes for that link, along with all the links to all the things, sponsors and transcripts and things we talk about in the show, and the spot to sign up for the AFD Week in Review, our weekly email newsletter, and more. Today on the show, I get to talk with my dude, Mike Donehey. Y'all, I love this guy so much. You may remember Mike from when he was with us before on episode 155 and episode 344. He's a singer, a songwriter, and author, a generally brilliant and kind friend. I'm really excited to get to connect with him today. His new book is so timely for the way our culture seems to have conversations these days, y'all. It's called Grace in the Gray, A More Loving Way to Disagree. In it, Mike helps us to see the grace and good that's often hidden when we let limited perspectives and assumptions get in the way of listening and extending grace. Y'all know this is so important to me, for us to figure out how we stay friends with people that we do not agree with on everything. And I learned so much, as always. I learned so much from Mike. He's like a sage. So I can't wait for y'all to hear this. So here is my conversation with one of our very favorites, Mike Donehey. Mike Donehey, welcome back to That Sounds Fun.
I can't believe it.
I thought I'd never come back here.
I keep thinking there's no way they're asking me back.
No, you keep thinking I'm never walking in that room again. And then we do ask and you do come back.
That's not true.
Dude, people
what a pleasure.
Request you to come back so often.
I'm going to just pretend like that's true.
That is, why would I lie? I wouldn't lie with the headphones on.
That's so funny.
No, it matters so much. Your conversations, what you bring is so pastoral. That is not pressure on you when what we're about to talk about.
I feel no pressure.
Good, because I'm so thankful. When I watch your life online, when we get to run into each other, I just always think you're kind of a secret ninja pastor that nobody knows is actually out there writing songs and pastoring.
Which would be a great Instagram handle.
Yeah, secret ninja pastor.
Like swoops in.
Handles
out.
it.
Yeah.
Go. Bye. Okay, so we're recording this at the very bitter end of December. Mm-hmm. People are going to hear this at the start of January. Tell me what you're thinking about 2023. What are you looking at next year?
I don't know.
Really?
I really don't know.
Oh, your sweet little Enneagram 4 heart. Don't make me think about 23.
It really is true.
I know.
And I think with the band ending, it's so strange. I'm still trying to get my feet under me when you're in a band, there's so many people to think about and so many people's lives. So you're on not a wheel, but just on a rhythm.
And when you're a successful band, you know things way in advance.
Well, and I would say 10th Avenue North was successful enough to keep going and never successful enough to take a break.
Yeah. Oh,
so
wow.
it just was go, 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 go. So I'm in a weird, I can actually just sit and wait and think about what I'm going to do, which is a gift, So this book I wrote is going to come out, and going to spend some time and energy trying to tell people about it.
Yeah.
And then, I just put out a new single that I'm really excited about.
Oh, don't I know?
Okay.
It is so good.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. It is like Friend of Sinners. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes. Jesus. Parentheses. Friend of Sinners.
Yeshua.
Yeah, Yeshua.
Which is his real name.
Well, thank you.
Apparently.
Tell me more.
Well, Jesus is a Latin derivative. That's not what his mama would have called him.
Yeah.
His Aramaic name would have been, or Hebrew would have been, Yah, which is short for Yahweh. Shua, so it's God who saves is his name. Yahshua. So it always intrigues me that we never call him. I mean, my mom doesn't call me Mike. She called me Mickleberry, but that's another.
That is burying the lead 3 episodes in. Your mom calls you Mickleberry?
But I actually had this, I had this really profound thought about The name Yeshua is also where we get the name Joshua.
Yeah.
And no offense to any Joshes out there, but I love that Jesus had the most basic name.
Yeah, right.
We tend to think Jesus, you'll hear someone named Jesus. How
Yeah.
dare you be named Jesus?
Yeah.
It's like, well, actually, that's actually kind of the point, that Jesus assimilated with us. He didn't lord over us, but he came to us, even in his name.
Yeah, I'm going to read you this thing. A friend of mine that was our tour guide in Israel named Aviel.
Yes.
What up, Avi?
Oh, please.
I asked him when he was tour guiding.
Yes, you just got back from
Yeah, we
Israel.
just got back in
Oh,
October.
man,
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Have you been? Yes.
No.
Okay, I refuse to let you go without me watching you there. So I am going on the same trip as you. I would die to see you see everything in
Okay,
Israel.
done.
It's unbelievable. We'll figure it out. I'm going to take you on a trip with your family, whoever you want to go.
I'm coming.
Whenever Avi would teach about Jesus, he would call him the Lord. But he never called him Jesus. And so randomly, a couple of weeks ago, I messaged him and I was like, Avi, I've been thinking about this. I feel like you explained it and I just wasn't paying attention or I was asleep or something.
Yeah.
Why do you say the Lord? And he said that whenever people talk directly to him, they used a title of respect: Rabbi, Lord, Teacher, Messiah, and Christ. And that's the same when they wrote letters. And he said Yeshua was so common. And he says usually it only appears in the historical writings of the gospel because they wanted it to be more neutral. And then he says, when I speak about him, I prefer to follow the example of those who showed him respect because he is not neutral to me.
Wow. He is not neutral to me.
He is not neutral to me. And then I thought, it made me teary then. It makes me a little teary now. He is not neutral to me. And I thought, I have only ever called him Jesus.
Yeah.
And as I've been reading the Gospels for the Let's Read the Gospels podcast, no one called him Jesus. Everyone called him Lord, Savior, other things. It is fascinating,
And think
right?
think about the inverse. He says, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends. So
right.
he is not neutral to me, and I am not neutral to him.
Yeah, that's right. That's beautiful. Okay, so
That's the
you came
fuel.
prepared with your favorite verse from the Gospels.
Yes.
I'm ready.
I did, which seems counterintuitive because it used to be my least favorite.
Oh, brutal.
It's actually two verses. Can I do two verses?
Yeah, of course.
To complete the thought.
Yes.
But Matthew 6:14 and 15, it starts really great. If you forgive others their trespasses, I will forgive you.
Yeah.
It's like, that sounds great. If you don't forgive others their sins, I won't forgive you.
Yeah.
Which, let's try to fill in the blank. Let's pretend we didn't know the first half, and someone said, if you don't fill in the blank, I won't forgive you. What do you think Jesus would say? And growing up culturally...
Yeah, I would
With
have
no
thought
context.
there's nothing that he won't forgive me for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or you'd start listing off really bad things.
Murder.
Right.
Yes.
Murder.
Yeah.
Going to do the murders. Here's a knife. You need to do some murders. I'm quoting
A
Eurovision.
knife. Yes, I know, but now.
But he doesn't say any of the things we expect him to say. He says something more problematic. He says, if you don't forgive others.
Yeah.
Right. And I struggle with that verse a long time because it sure seems like God's saying his love is conditional. And I thought God's love isn't conditional. So what's
Yeah.
this weird condition on it? So I was talking to God about it. I was like, hey, God, what's up with this? I thought your love was unconditional. And he goes, yeah, so you're saying you get unconditional love, but then you're going to put a condition on it for everyone else. Didn't you just turn my unconditional love into something it's not? Isn't the one condition unconditional love needs to have is that it remains unconditional?
It's brutal.
It doesn't work
Yes.
the other way.
Yes. Yes.
But really, if you look a little deeper, it seems like what Jesus is saying is like, look, if you're not at a place where you're forgiving other people, then you're not living forgiven.
Yeah.
This is a litmus test.
Yes.
This is that's what he says of
Yes, because if you're not forgiving other people, you don't feel forgiven.
Right.
You need to hold them to a tab because you feel like you've still got a tab that you've got to have to pay off.
Yes.
Mike, you're right. You're
Yes.
exactly right. So he's not saying that because he doesn't want to forgive. He's saying because he wants us to be free.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
And it's not any shock then that Paul goes in 2 Corinthians, he says, hey, you want to know what your ministry is? Your ministry is reconciliation. It says he has given us the ministry of reconciliation. And I just wonder how many people wouldn't describe their ministry with that word. They'd say, I have a ministry of podcasts.
Yeah.
I have a ministry of writing books. I have a ministry of singing music. No. that is the method through which you deliver the ministry. But the ministry we've all been given as his kids, the one who is reconciling all things unto himself, is reconciliation.
I mean, my bigger question is, would other people look at our ministries and say, that's a ministry of reconciliation? Because a lot of us will label it ourselves, but are the people experiencing our work on the other side saying, this is reconciling me to God, to others, to myself, to my history, to Jesus, to,
Yeah, and I think a really helpful layman's terms for people listening is, what does it mean I've been given the ministry of reconciliation? It simply means you're on the earth to forgive other people and help them know they're forgiven. Like if you now that's a hyperbolic statement, probably oversimplified, but I think it's helpful.
Yeah.
And then it calls me out that, wow, cool. I'm singing songs about Jesus and I'm writing books about Jesus. Am I reconciling?
Yeah.
And I just read Tim Keller's book, Forgive.
Yeah.
He always says it so poignantly.
So good.
And he pointed something out to me, and I want to get really honest here. I mean, I had a friendship with someone in the music business for the last 3 years has been torn apart just because of some legal stuff, blah, blah, blah. And in his book, Keller points out, he goes, isn't it interesting, 2 places in Matthew, he says, if you have something against your brother, go to him.
Yeah.
And then later in Matthew, or maybe it's the other way around, it says, if your brother has something against you, go to him.
Yeah.
Which means the impetus of initiating reconciliation always starts with me.
Yeah. The gift of going second is what John Acuff says. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, now the caveat is you can't control whether or not someone will reconcile with you.
Yes.
But we're told to make every effort to keep the bond of peace.
Right? Yes.
Every effort.
In every way possible.
Yeah.
Be at peace with everyone. I talked about it during our Advent series when I said everyone is actually everyone.
Yes.
And that's complicated. It's actually everyone.
So me and this buddy, I was reading that. I'm like, I have not made every effort.
I know.
And so called him up.
Do? Oh, no.
Said, hey, let's go for a walk around Radnor Lake. And the two of us got together, walked, and had an amazing conversation. And
does it fix things? Is it just like da-da-da-da-da-da?
No, but it starts to fix things.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, I wrote this book. So
yes.
I
Grace in the Gray.
So I've got this chapter called "Get the Fork Out of Here," where I start with a story about this just ridiculous moment where I was making a smoothie.
Yeah.
And my oldest daughter has a way of becoming very poltergeist-like. She kind of floats into a room unnoticed, and then you turn around, you go, "Whoa!" and she's just standing there staring at you.
How old are the girls now?
Well, my oldest is 13.
Okay.
My second oldest is 11. Then I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yes.
Four daughters. Pray for me. It's fantastic. So, did I tell this joke?
She poltergeists in. No.
Did I tell this joke about having 4 daughters?
I don't think so.
People are like, when are you going to have the boy? When you going to have that boy? I was like, man, it's apparent that the Lord gives girls to a family that already has a man.
Yeah. So. I'm all the man this family needs.
every dad I know with just girls gives me high fives. And
yes, that will be my dad. He will agree with you.
It's great. Someone's always crying, and sometimes my girls cry.
Someone's always crying, and sometimes it's my daughters.
Yeah, sometimes it's them. But my poltergeist daughter, she comes in, she's got a ratty nightgown on and hair down on her over her eyes, and she's just standing there. And I was about to fly out, and so I make this smoothie concoction every morning to force nutrients into them.
Yes.
Ninja pastor, ninja nutrients. How do I sneak them past the gates of brown taste buds that ward off anything that resembles cellular respiration?
Yes.
And so I pack, I've got this, I use Kachava powder right now.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a fancy powder that I subscribe to.
Kachava?
Yeah, I'm not even being paid to tell people about this.
Is that a brand? Or is that the plant?
It's the...
knowing you, it could be like, yes, Annie, it is from South America.
This is a tree that I grow.
Yeah. That could be
yard.
so true.
Thank you.
Is the brand.
I received that as a compliment.
It is.
Kachava is the brand. And so I throw that in, and then I throw in frozen spinach and avocado and chia seeds and all that stuff.
Do you put fruit in there, or do you just give them all green things?
No, it's all green and chocolate. I found that I can do fruit, but fruit they eat fruit. Fruit
Yeah.
has sugar. I'm trying to cut down the sugar. So,
Okay.
so I'm making the smoothie, and my daughter scares me. Oh, what are you doing? Because I've gotten up early at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm making a big
Yeah.
thing of smoothie to put in the fridge so my wife can give it to him before they.
That's sweet of you.
I'm just a really great husband. I'm losing my reward though, according to Jesus.
Yeah, that's
telling
all right.
everyone about
This
it.
is just this time.
Anyway, so I'm making the smoothie. She scares me. Hey Dad, can I come help you make the smoothie? I go, sure, you can help me make the smoothie. Forgetting that I was in the process of forking out some avocado
Oh, wow.
into the smoothie. Caveat.
And you would kind of drop the fork into the...
Correct.
Oh,
into the
Lord
500
have mercy.
horsepower Vitamix
Yes.
that can blend up your shoes. And I drop it. I forget. Oh, yeah, okay. And she, at this point, I wasn't using frozen spinach. I was using loose leaf spinach,
Yeah.
not realizing that frozen vegetables actually usually have more nutrients than fresh vegetables.
Yes.
Anyway, so
That's good for everybody to hear.
yeah, I
buy
just
the
wanna,
frozen spinach.
Yeah, I just want to let
Because
people know.
everybody knows the bottom third of the big container of spinach you're going to buy and put in your fridge is going to get tossed anyway.
Yeah, and especially
Buy
if
the
you're using
frozen.
it in smoothies. Cause,
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So she gets a big handful of spinach and tosses it in, completely hiding the fork in
Oh
the
my
smoothie.
gosh.
And so, we throw other stuff in, throw some other stuff, coconut milk, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, oh, yeah, okay, you ready? Put the top on. She goes, yeah, hit the switch. Armageddon ensues.
Is that really? I can't even imagine
The
what
lights are
happens.
flickering. I mean, it's going, smoke is coming out. I go,
Oh my
baby.
gosh.
I grab her, it's rattling like a cobra in a cage. And we're just waiting for whatever's about to happen. And then, I'm not making this up, the fork with sparks bursts through the side of
No.
the Vitamix blender and hits the wall, puts a dent in the wall, bends the fork, and smoothie
gosh.
cascades
Oh,
over
absolutely
the
everywhere.
entire.
I'm sure. At
just
4:30 in the
an
morning.
array of
What a
glory.
nightmare.
So we're sitting there, and I'm looking at myself and going, if that fork went I would have put a hole in me. I
Yeah.
think I would have died. Death by smoothie.
Right.
So, long story short, we live lives like, this is a ridiculous
I love
analogy,
it. No, I'm
but
here for it.
we live lives like smoothies where we're going, hey, how can I get more healthy? How can I become more like Jesus? I need more quiet time. I need more, scripture memorization. I need more health. I need more exercise. I need more. And we add. What do I need, Jesus? What do I need, Jesus? What do I need? And he's like, hey, can we talk about the fork in there?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to add in, And it's interesting, we're told that make no room for bitterness, and give the enemy a foothold.
Yeah.
Like that bitterness is the way in which we open ourselves to, this is strong language, but demonic activity.
That's right.
And so I have to, before I try to fill my life with anything else, I need to first open myself up to what does God need to take out. And I have to assume, because of Jesus' impetus, his importance on unforgiveness, I have to first look through my life and say, is there anyone I am refusing forgiveness for?
Yeah.
So I talked to my dad this one time, and this is all in this one chapter. And I figure it's easier to talk about one chapter than try to talk about the whole book. But we'll get there. Or maybe we won't. So I'm talking to my dad, and I have this really...
I'm glad to be here for this.
Just having this conversation with myself. Thanks for being here, Annie. But my dad was telling me one time about how his father was abusive. And he actually ran away to the World's Fair when he was 17.
Your dad did?
Because my grandfather was so abusive and beat up him and his mom. He ran away to the World's Fair by moped. He lived in Boston.
Why is this not a movie yet? We're the Kendrick brothers.
He lived in Boston and drove up to Montreal, worked the World's Fair all summer. And then when the snow started coming in the fall, he said his moped gave up the ghost and he buried it in a snowbank. He remembers saying goodbye to his little moped and got a bus home or whatever. Long story short, quickly joins the Air Force, moves away, marries my mom in Nebraska randomly. So he's at this church. Oh, so I asked my dad. He's telling me all this. I go, Dad, you know what's really fascinating is how did you do it? He goes, what do you mean? I go, how did you break that cycle of abuse? Because I know a lot of people where that is one of those systematic, Jesus talked about generational sins, or the Bible talks about that there are certain things, distortions, dysfunctions that kind of get handed down.
Yes.
And you become subject to that kind of abuse, and then you end up performing that sort of abuse. And he goes, oh, I can tell you when. I was like, oh, wow, this is much more efficient than I was expecting.
Yeah.
My dad is usually, as I am, very verbose and goes on and on. He said, yeah, I had, just come to know Jesus at this church. And
In Nebraska?
In Nebraska. The pastor gets up, reads this verse, says, hey, listen, I don't want to offend anybody, but you need to forgive.
Yeah.
And my dad went, So I went home and I wrote my dad a letter. I go, oh, got you, Dad. Wink, wink, finger point.
Yeah.
You wrote him a letter saying how you forgive him for everything he did to you. And my dad looks at me. His face gets kind of scrunched. He goes, well, of course not. I go, what? He goes, I wrote a letter asking my dad to forgive me for all the bitterness that I held toward him.
Oh, wow.
And I go, well, did he read the letter? He goes, I don't know. But the second I put that in the mail, all that weight was lifted.
Wow.
Now, it's not always like that for people, but I love my dad's story because what he's saying is, I'm just going to start with my part in it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come to them and demand that they apologize or make right. I mentioned my walk with my friend. I didn't ask him to apologize for where I felt like I was wronged. I apologized for where I knew I was wrong.
Yes.
And it's just incredible how that's really the part that I think we need to own, because ultimately you can't ever make someone apologize. You can't ever force repentance, but you can bring your side of it.
Yes.
And so I have this picture in my mind. Okay, go with me here.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is extra biblical.
Oh, great.
They're going to write you in about this.
Okay,
part.
great.
So
My email is Annie@MikeDonehey.com. That is the best way to tell me what you think right now.
I had this thought, and I wrote it down in the book. This chapter is called "Get the Fork Out of Here." It was like how to get bitterness out of yourself.
Yeah.
I said, okay, is there anybody when you die and you get to the gates of heaven that you sure hope isn't there?
Oh, gross. I knew that's what you were going to ask.
Let's make it even worse. Let's say you die and you go up the escalator or however it works.
It's an escalator for sure. That's great. I didn't know that before now, but it rings true in my spirit.
I saw Pixar's Soul. It's definitely an elevator, an escalator of some sort. So you're standing there.
You get to the top of the escalator.
Peter's there. He's got the book of life.
Yeah.
Shiny pearly doors are standing. Peter's beaming at you. Reads your name. So,
he's my favorite. You know, I can't wait to be his friend.
Your name's in there, which we could talk all about. In Hebrews it says we're being cheered on by so great a cloud of witnesses. Let us run this race.
Yes.
I love the image of Peter standing there going, I deny Jesus. Keep running.
Yeah.
David saying, I committed adultery.
Yeah.
I killed a guy.
Yeah.
Keep running.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a caveat. But Peter's sitting there, he reads your name. This is great. You open your eyes and the gates start opening. And light from Jesus' face just pours out, and you're squinting, you can't even see. And you start to run through the doors, but then there's a figure coming at you. And you stop, shielding your eyes from the glory. And they come into view, and it's that person.
Yeah.
It's the person you didn't hope would be, that you hoped wouldn't be there. The person you couldn't imagine. And the doors slam shut behind them. And you go, oh, what? Peter, just let me in. We'll work on this later.
Yes.
And Peter goes, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. You have to go in pairs.
Oh, gosh. You have to go in pairs.
And they even say all the apology you ever longed for. But that is sort of the picture of heaven that I have to wrestle with.
Yes.
Is what if God redeems the person that I'm angry at?
Yeah.
So maybe when Jesus says, if you don't forgive others, I won't forgive you, he's like, how do you expect to live in perfect harmony of reconciliation with all the saints if you aren't doing that work now?
Yes.
You will hate heaven.
Yeah. Right. If we don't get some practice in now,
get started.
Eternity is going to feel awful.
It's kind of what I think
interesting.
Lewis had in mind in The Great Divorce.
Yeah.
It's like, get started.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation real quick to share about one of our amazing partners, ZocDoc. When someone is just exceptionally good at what they do, like a waiter carrying 4 plates balanced on one arm, you know you are in good hands. It's like at our office. We like to joke that Lillian, our chief Annie officer, she doesn't have a to-do list. She has a to-done list. Before I even think of things to ask her, she's practically taking care of it. And because of that, we all just have the utmost confidence in her. Same when you find the right doctor. You can feel it, right? You feel heard and at ease. On ZocDoc, finding the doctor that's right for you is seamless. The quality care you need is just a few taps away in the ZocDoc app. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. No more doctor roulette or scouring the internet for questionable reviews. With ZocDoc, you have a trusted guide to connect you to your favorite doctor you haven't met yet. Millions of people use ZocDoc's free app to find and book a doctor in their neighborhood who is patient-reviewed and fits their needs and schedule just right, including me. So go to ZocDoc.com/thatsoundsfun and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/thatsoundsfun. ZocDoc.com/thatsoundsfun. And I got to tell you about another one of our incredible partners, KiwiCo. I think I've told y'all that one of the things I'm really looking to learn about and practice this year is good quality sleep. Feels like a very worthwhile thing to discover more about. KiwiCo knows a thing or two about delivering moments of discovery for kids of all ages through fun, hands-on projects. And each month they deliver super cool science, technology, and art projects right to your door. You can choose from 9 different subscription lines for different ages and categories. There's something for every kid. There's one about environmental science where kids learn how oil affects oceans and the creatures that live in them, and they get to explore different ways to clean up spilled oil. And one where they get to explore the engineering and the physics behind dominoes by building a real domino machine. Very cool. I've done that one with some of my mini BFFs, and it was so fun. I think I was most impressed with how simple the directions were to follow for me and how all of the materials were included, which made my life easier too. The kids were so proud of themselves when they saw the machine in action. KiwiCo delivers everything needed to tinker, build, create, or craft straight to your door. There's no commitment. You can pause or cancel anytime. And literally every parent I know wants ways to have fun and facilitate learning without a screen, especially when it's cold outside and everybody is inside. Well, you won't believe the awesome, tangible things your kids can build and accomplish with KiwiCo. Give them the tools to learn new skills and build new experiences and make new connections to the world around them. Each crate includes a magazine to help your kids dig deeper into the concepts. I love that. So make 2023 the year of discovery with KiwiCo. Get 50% off, you guys, 50. Get 50% off your first month on any crate line at KiwiCo.com/thatsoundsfun. That's 50% off your first month at KiwiCo.com/thatsoundsfun. And now back to our conversation with Mike. Something we talk about when we talk about politics here often, but it could be in anything, is right now on earth, there are people who love Jesus, deeply love Jesus, and could not be more polar opposite with me about some beliefs.
Of course.
And what has happened is culture has said to us, if they don't agree with you, then they all actually don't love Jesus. And that is, right? Don't you feel like that's what, that's what Grace in the Gray is saying.
This is what the book is all about.
Yes, is like what we have to, what I have to wrestle with. I won't speak for any of our friends listening or you. What I have to wrestle with is I could have to sit across a table from someone who says, I read the Bible more than you. I pray more than you.
Yeah.
I actually know factually that God has more love for me than he does for you, which is not true. But I know God likes me more than he likes you.
Some people think that.
And I believe so differently on this. And we're both going to end up with the same Jesus as our best friend. That, dude, that's hard.
We should expect it. I mean, I love that they show this in the Chosen series that's out now. But you've got Matthew the tax collector.
Matthew and Peter.
And Simon the Zealot.
Yes.
Which is even worse.
Simon the Zealot, yeah.
I mean, Simon Zealot would have been murdering people like Matthew.
Yes.
And the amount of ways we are bombarded with this idea from Jesus that, hey, you better get used to being called to being with people you wouldn't usually be with.
Yes.
That is, and in the book, I kind of just say we gotta shift from this paradigm that disagreement is the sign of unhealth in our relationships.
Wow.
Because
wow.
if everyone in your life agrees with you 100% of the time, it's actually a sign that you're not in relationship with anyone but yourself.
Wow. Even if your friends are always agreeing with you.
Correct.
That's
disagreement
interesting, Mike.
is the sign that you're in relationship.
Yeah.
How do I know I'm in a relationship with God? Because he disagrees with me.
Yeah.
If the God I pray to agrees with me 100% of the time, I'm praying to myself.
Yes. Yes.
And then you have to ask yourself, if all my friends, quote unquote, are just agreeing with me all the time, what kind of culture have I curated, or what kind of messaging am I putting out there where nobody feels safe enough to tell me the truth?
Yes. Yes. It's not even, because people hear about yes men all the time. Like, don't surround yourself with yes men. But it's not even that. It's this more deeply embedded, safer feeling thing of, okay, good. Everyone around me, we all believe the same thing. This is actually really good that everyone at the pool, we all believe the same thing about politics or about Jesus or about what family should look like, or, and we feel like it's safe, but it's not.
My friend Gabby, she says, Jesus isn't fragile. And so if you're in a place where you don't like any of your thoughts or beliefs challenged at all, I would say Jesus is a cornerstone.
Yeah.
Like, he isn't fragile, man.
Yeah.
He can take it.
Yes. But see, the interesting thing is, I don't know that me or any of my friends would say, I don't want my ideas to be challenged. I think the deeper lie I tell myself is when my ideas are challenged, that doesn't mean my ideas should be questioned. It means the other person is wrong.
Right.
Right? So I'm fine if there is a challenging viewpoint to what I believe. I refuse to listen to it and consider whether there is truth in what they're saying that destroys the paradigm of the safe life I've built in my neighborhood.
Right. So that I've got a chapter in the book called The 4 Magic Words. And the 4 magic words are, I could be wrong.
Yeah, and that feels really unsafe,
It
right?
feels unsafe because, especially for Christians, who what you believe determines your eternal situation.
Yes.
So
yes, Mike.
It's easy for that methodology to bleed into every area of our lives.
Yeah.
Right. And what I'm so grateful for as I've gotten older is the book of Ecclesiastes, which does make some affirmations at the end.
Yeah.
To me, is this beautiful little book where, when they were canonizing scripture, there was a big fight over whether Ecclesiastes should even be in there.
Proverbs, right?
Yeah.
I think those are the two, yeah.
Well, because, Proverbs says over and over and over, a wise man loves to be told he's wrong.
Yeah.
A wise man loves rebuke. A wise man loves correction. So, and then in Ecclesiastes, it's like, what on earth? What the, who? This guy, the rich, the terrible people are getting off free, and what's going on? And it's full of these, maybe I'm wrong about this.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the heart of wisdom, because now you're opening yourself up to hear and listen. And that is the essence of relationship. Most people just want to know they'll be listened to.
Yes. Yes. And considered, right?
Just seen,
yes,
known,
I would like to sit at
blank.
a table, and no matter what we talk about, I would like to consider what they are saying. I had dinner with someone last night who was saying things that I could not, in my normal brain, ever consider a good idea. And I thought, the thing you want when you're sitting here is for your ideas to be considered. So you need to consider this person's ideas as possibly true, even though they are so diabolically, and we're both Christians, but the ideas of the other person were so wildly dumb to me. that I thought, in no world. But don't we want to consider each other?
Yes. That's in essence all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And the caveat is there a way to move from let's agree to disagree? That's the phrase I kind of
We
attack.
just said that in the meeting you walked in on. We talked about how much we don't like agree to disagree.
Hate that phrase. Why? Because it's insinuating a standstill, not a peace treaty.
Yes, that's
It's
good, Mike.
it's a laying aside our arms until I get another shot at you.
Yes.
I'll put it down for now.
Yes.
But that's a false peace.
Yeah, it's like on a game board. As long as we don't land on the purple, we're going to be fine. Agree to disagree. But anytime we land on purple, we're going to be right where we were. We're at a standstill.
Yeah. And agree to disagree is, well, you're not hearing me and I'm not hearing you and whatever.
But we don't want to fight and end this, and we also don't want to consider.
Yes.
So we will stop.
So the question
Mike.
could be, can we live in community in disagreement?
Yeah.
And I think that's cultivated by what I would say leaning in.
Yeah.
And just going, help me understand your position. Help me understand. Really. And keep asking questions really to understand their position. Like, do I fully, and maybe we can move from understanding people's positions to even appreciating a position that we deem diabolically opposed to us.
Yeah.
Diabolically dumb.
Yeah. A pastor you and I both respect his teaching, Jason Miller in South Bend, Indiana, says the reason in the Beatitudes that Jesus said peacemakers will be called sons of God, sons and daughters of God. Blessed are those who are peacemakers, so be sons of daughters of God. And Jason says, because if you really make peace, you lose family. And so God is saying, I'll be your family.
Wow.
If you actually do the work of peacemaking, you may lose family. And so I'll be your family. And I mean, I bet Jason said that. I heard him teach that a decade ago, maybe, or something.
Yeah, that's so good.
7 years ago. And I thought, I've never forgotten it. Because that is so true. You think peacemaking is going to be so fun, and it is not.
Well, nuance is horrible. Because
I mean, Grace in the Gray, that's why your book is titled this, A More Loving Way to Disagree.
yeah, if I totally resonate with that quote because
Aren't I right that you like Jason Miller? I'm not making that up, right?
I love Jason.
I thought so.
He stayed at my house last time he was here.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I thought y'all were bros. All of a sudden I was like, I don't think I'm making up that he loves Jason. Yeah.
It is so much easier and quite honestly, a lot easier to build a kingdom around an extreme point.
Yes. We see that on every cable news station.
Who was I talking to, or who said this? That basically, you know who was? Justin McRoberts, who's a friend of mine.
I don't know him, but
he said,
thumbs up him.
Nuance and incremental change is way more radical than being radical.
Nuance and incremental change is way more radical than being radical.
Something like that.
The grace in the gray. Being in the gray takes so much more work.
Well, you're gonna get shot from both sides.
That's right.
Who wants to do that?
You're too conservative for the liberals. You're too liberal for the conservatives. You're too charismatic for the liturgical. You're too liturgical for the charismatic. I mean, the gray's tough, dude.
Yeah, and it's so much easier, and I get why people go black and white on things that shouldn't be black and white because they want to amass a following.
Yes.
And let's be honest, people don't like getting behind someone in the gray.
Right.
Like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Or you feel it feels dangerous because what if you change?
Yes. And so this is a whole thing I talk about where we have to stop deifying and demonizing
Humans.
Yes.
Yes.
Particularly people who we are following, particularly for spiritual advice. We have a tendency of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're all or nothing.
Oh, Jamie that works here the other day said that situation, they threw the family out with the bathwater.
Yes. And I do this practice all the time. It's like, what if I quote, I don't know, I'm not even going to
use me as an example. You can use me.
All right,
Is that what you mean?
Well, let's say like on your podcast, there's people listening where if I quote Joel Osteen,
right,
they're going to immediately go yes or immediately go no way.
Say Richard Rohr. And not only do people say yes or no, they say, now I know you, Mike Donehey.
Yes.
Now I know.
Now I know I can trust you or not trust you.
Or not trust you.
And I go, wait a second.
Yes.
There's a great, and I already quoted Keller once before, but I'll quote him again. He says,
Put us in that camp all day long. Put us in the killer
This
camp.
is really good because Paul does, the Apostle Paul shows us it's possible to quote secular philosophers of the day.
That's right. That's right.
In
He
his,
did it.
in his sermon on
That's
Mars
right.
Hill. And Keller says something I think is really helpful. He says, if you quote one man, you'll be a clone. If you quote two men, you'll just be confused. He goes, if you quote 10 men, or if you study 10 men, you might still be confused. And then he goes on, if you study 100 men, you'll start to become wise. If you study 300 men, you'll become wise and you'll start to develop your own voice.
Wow.
And I just really think that's so true, that I'm just really tired of you quote somebody to me and I immediately determine whether that statement is true based on the source.
Yes.
Not take the sentence or the thought for what it is and inspect it.
The other problem with deifying and demonizing, I think, fix it if I'm wrong, when we demonize someone, if we do it once, they never have a shot to speak into our lives, and they probably have some wisdom. If we deify them, the minute they do one thing that we disagree with or hurts our feelings or isn't what we set them up to do, they have such a steep fall.
And we have a fall.
As the receiver.
Think about how many times you've probably heard, wouldn't the church be better? Wouldn't it be so much better if we didn't have all these false prophets?
Right.
Wouldn't it be better if we didn't have people having sexual failures?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better if we didn't have these Christian artists lose their faith and talk about it online? Wouldn't it be better? And there's this radical, it's probably my favorite. Well, you asked my favorite verse. My favorite parable that Jesus teaches is a really unfamiliar one to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's right after the really famous one where he's throwing out seeds and that grows up in the thorns and the thistles. Some gets eaten by the birds.
Yeah.
Right after that, he goes, there's another farmer. And he isn't just throwing out seeds and some wheat's growing here and there. He's got a whole field of wheat.
Yeah.
Like, oh, beautiful. Yes. Yeah. And then an enemy plants weeds in the wheat. So what does his workers say? They see these weeds growing in the wheat, and they do exactly what we say. Can we pull them out? Can we
tear them up?
Let us tear them out. We're so good at tearing out the weeds.
Yes.
And then what does Jesus say? He goes, the farmer says to him, I imagine he's kind of like Marlon Brando for some reason. He's like, no, leave him in. What do you mean leave him in, boss? Leave him in. Because if you go around trying to tear out all those weeds, you're going to tear out all the wheat too. I don't know why I went Marlon Brando.
No, I was very into it.
Thank you. And I think I love that. And Jesus goes on to explain the parable to his disciples, and he says, pulling apart the weeds and the wheat, that's my job. That's the angel's job. Yeah. That's not your job.
Yes.
And Isaiah says, a bruised reed he will not break, and a flickering flame he will not quench. And we've got a lot of people in our culture who are really good at breaking bruised reeds. And they're really good at snuffing out flickering flames.
Yes.
And they do it in the name of, hey, I need to tell you the truth, because to really love you, love isn't love if it isn't truth. And so I'm going to tell you the hard truth.
Yeah.
But I would say, based on what Paul says, that truth is also not truth if it's not love. And I say that because he says all over the place, but in Ephesians he says speaking the truth in love. In 1 Corinthians 13 he says I could have all this knowledge and speak in the tongues of angels. If I have not love, it's nothing. And you're like, well, that's still not about posture. It's just the content of what you're saying needs to be loving. It's not really how you say it.
Yeah.
It's what you say.
Yeah. And it may not feel like love to the receiver.
And I go, that's true, because especially if you're easily offendable, you're not going to accept wisdom. But when Paul's coaching Timothy and he's writing him his second letter, and Paul's in prison thinking he's going to die, he says, hey, Timothy. And this is really, for my book, the whole outline. You can actually you don't need to read my book. Just read these two verses. He says...
But also, grace and grace.
Whatever. He says... Okay, this is what you need to do. The Lord's servant, Timothy, must not be quarrelsome. Ouch.
Yeah.
How do I know I'm quarrelsome? You don't. Ask someone who's your friend.
get someone else to assess your Twitter timeline.
Must not be quarrelsome. Must be kind to everyone. I looked up the Greek for kind. It means kind to everyone.
Everyone, man. Everyone. People stumble over everyone. Me too.
Able to teach. Which means, hey, before you weigh in on this, are you actually able to teach about it?
Yeah.
Maybe there's some things you need to shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Able to teach. Correcting his opponents. So you do correct them. He says, with all gentleness.
Wow.
And then he gives this beautiful ending. Perhaps God will grant them repentance, leading to the truth.
Yeah.
And especially that last part, it's like Paul is painting this picture of it isn't just your position, but you also must consider your posture. And it's not just your posture. It's also your position.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the way I argue needs to be buoyed by this belief that perhaps God will be the one to change them. And what are we told in Romans 2:4? What is the method through which God brings about repentance? It is through his kindness. Now, it is kind to tell someone hard truth.
Yes.
But all of these admonitions, I have to say, not only what I tell people, but the way I say it, are meant to be in this marriage together.
Yes.
And I need to stop excusing that people are stumbling. We say, well, Jesus is a stumbling block. He's going to be offensive.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they should stumble over me to get to the stumbling block.
Yeah. Let him be the one.
Yeah.
Not me. Hey friends, just taking a quick break from this conversation to tell you about another one of our amazing partners, Nutrafol. Is there like a typical frequency for how often you should have to clean the hair off your hairbrush because it's full? I'm asking because we just don't talk about these things. And here's the thing, 30 million women are impacted by weakened or thinning hair. Millions means it's more than common, you guys. It's normal. And dealing with thinning hair can feel lonely and frustrating. And if that's you, you are not alone. There's a solution you can trust to deliver results. It's time to change the conversation and join the thousands of women who are standing up for their strands with Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement. It's clinically shown to improve your hair growth, thickness, and visible scalp coverage. By targeting the 5 root causes of thinning, stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, metabolism, these are things that affect all of us. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within through whole body health. Nutrafol has 3 unique formulas to support women through all stages of life, including postpartum and menopause. Each formula is physician formulated using natural, drug-free, medical-grade ingredients and consistent effective dosages so you get the most reliable results. 3,000 plus top doctors and stylists recommend Nutrafol as an effective and high-quality solution for healthier hair. And it works. In a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after 6 months. You can grow thicker, healthier hair, and you get to support our show by going to Nutrafol.com and entering the promo code That Sounds Fun. It'll save you $15 off your first month's subscription. This is their best offer anywhere, and it is only available to U.S. customers for a limited time, plus free shipping on every order. So get $15 off at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code That Sounds Fun. And now back to finishing up our conversation with Mike. Do you think Grace in the Gray matters more now than it did 50 years ago? Does the internet make this more important, or is the world, every generation thinks they're the last generation, so fair. Does it feel like the world is more contentious toward each other, or does the internet just make that more apparent? Or am I wrong and the 50s was like this too? Not that you were there, so you don't remember, but.
I'm always going to resist the temptation to pit generations against one another on which one was better or worse. Simply because I'm living now.
Yeah.
And
now.
Are there particular challenges that this generation is going to face that I didn't? Yeah, study the trend of social anxiety with social media.
Yeah.
Watch The Social Dilemma. There are particular problems. But, in the early 1900s, Stalin is killing more millions of people than anyone.
Yeah.
And we don't even talk about Stalin. We talk about Hitler.
Yeah.
Who is also horrible.
Yeah.
And this is happening in this golden, beautiful age, right?
Yeah.
So I will say social media, it seems the algorithm is not helpful.
Right.
I would say, in that it's feeding you stuff that you agree with. But on the flip side, there's more potential to discover alternative viewpoints than ever.
Yes.
So it's hard to say that it's one or the other. I think this is always the temptation of humans.
Is to say we have it better, we have it worse than?
To surround yourself with people who make you feel right.
Yeah.
Because feeling right is an easy substitute for feeling loved. And if you don't feel loved and known, then
At
feeling
least
right.
I'm right.
Next best thing.
I may not be loved, but I'm right. Oh, that is really
And I would just
terribly true.
really say a litmus test of if you always need to feel right. I
What
would
you
say,
actually need.
Why don't you feel loved and known?
Yeah. Well, that's terrible, but you're right. That is.
It is terrible, but the gift is like getting what we really need is easier than doing all the research so that you come into your family reunion ready to decimate everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like really being slow to speak
Yeah.
and quick to listen, says James.
Yeah.
That actually, like the simpler thing is the harder thing, but it's the less complex thing.
Yes.
And that is, I just need to make people feel known and loved, and that's what I'm here to do.
Man, I can't wait for people to read this, Mike.
I think I definitely don't cover everything, but I say at the beginning of the book, it's the subtitle is A More Loving Way to Disagree.
Yeah.
I go, shouldn't that subtitle be helpful ways to destroy other people in arguments, or the best way to win when you're disagreed with? And it's not. It's a more loving way to disagree. So I go, anyone who reads that and then opens up the book, they're already doing better.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
like you're
this
on
is the
your
first
way.
Step. That's right. You're
Yeah.
doing it. Did you read the audiobook?
I did.
Yes. Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
People love when the author reads the audiobook.
I did lots of voices. Like
Did
Marlon
you? A
Brando.
lot of Marlon Brando moments?
I was really doing a lot of Christopher Walken at that point. I don't know why, but
I did not know
he
this was a skill you had.
is disagreeable sometimes.
Who else did I do?
Who else do you do?
I mean, I could do Shrek. Like, look, donkey, get in the swamp. This is my Listen, Shrek, in the morning, I'm making waffles.
I do a lot of voices,
You
actually.
do, and you're very good.
I was a theater major, so
But that doesn't naturally mean you're good at voices. This is a skill.
I hope so.
I mean, your Shrek is spot on Scottish. You sound like every neighbor I ever had
Look
when
at
I
the
lived there.
size of that boy's head. I'm not kidding. His head's like Sputnik, spherically, quite pointy in parts. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. If you did your whole audiobook in a Scottish accent.
I did this little YouTube video one time called How to Train Birds, where I was standing on a pier in California, and I had this big fur hat on, and I was trying to be Russian, like, Dmitry, I'm here to teach birds how to fly. And I was doing this whole thing, and this group, I'm not making this up, this group of old Russian women come up behind me as I'm, I've got a camera on me, and I'm like, listen, this is how we do it to birds, like, da-da-da. And they come up to me. They start speaking Russian.
No, because they just knew you were actually Russian.
And the granddaughter, whoever goes, they want to know if you're really Russian. I'm like, no, I'm not really Russian. She's like, I know you are not Russian.
Wow. Okay, you just have, that's like a back pocket party trick.
Thank you.
That's very good. I need you to do that. I'm going to make a note for when we invite you back that we're going to only do accent. I can't do them. You only do accent.
I was Smeagol for Halloween. And I wore a Gollum mask.
Oh, ooh, awful.
But then I would take the mask off, and I had painted my face and was wearing a bald cap. So I was Smeagol underneath, but Gollum with the mask on. I terrified so many children.
Yes, certainly.
Yes, precious. Precious wants to help us. Masters is a friend. You don't have any friends. You're a thief and a murderer. I'm not listening. Just one wish to catch a fish. So juicy, sweet.
Something like that, right?
Mike, this is...
What are taters? What's this taters? Potatoes? Chop them up, cook them, put them in stew. Yeah, I do.
Wow.
I do voices.
You do voices. Thank you for that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Hey, the last question we
I'm
always
sure
ask.
that's not going to make it. Into
You're
the
dead wrong. Every minute of that is going to make it.
Great, perfect.
The last question we always ask, because the show is called That Sounds Fun. Tell me what sounds fun to you. Besides your accents, that's very fun to me.
You know what sounds fun to me right now?
Yeah.
Right before the pandemic shut the world down, my best friend growing up, we were best friends from like 2 years old till, we went to the same college, lived in the same house for all 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
But then we really don't see each other after that because we both live in separate places.
Yeah.
But we had scheduled a snowboarding trip in Utah, and I was meant to finish a show and go snowboard for 3 days with him and then get back on the tour. And then like 2 days before that trip, the world shut down.
Yeah.
And I really would love to go snowboarding. It's been a minute.
Y'all reschedule.
I know. That sounds
this
fun.
is the season. 'Tis the
I
season
know.
to reschedule a snowboarding trip. It's the winter.
Make use of all this
Get out of
stuff.
Nashville.
Make use of this cold.
We are rainy and dark from
it is so
now
sad.
until it feels like until Easter Sunday.
Annie, this does not sound fun.
No.
You've gone into not fun.
I'm sorry. You go ski out west. Go out west. Take your bro. Y'all go out west. Thanks for doing this today, Mike. I love getting to sit and chat.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Oh, friends, isn't he just the best? I love that dude. Gracious. I could listen to him teach, preach, lead forever. I just think the world of him. Be sure to grab your copy of Grace in the Gray, and let's all get better at disagreeing. And follow Mike on social media so you can tell him thanks for being on the show today, even if you didn't agree with everything he said. So, okay, we heard what sounds fun to Mike. And as you know, this year we want to hear what sounds fun to you, our listener friends. So here's what sounds fun to one of our friends who's listening, just like you. Jennifer, because the show is called That Sounds Fun, tell me what sounds fun to you.
Ooh, Annie, I'm Jennifer Bonner from Albany, Georgia, and fun to me is authentic, good fun, being yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever sounds fun to you is fun, and fun to me is a wide variety of things, from Broadway shows, local theater, decorating for Christmas with the family, getting ready for a party, or having a total chill day.
I agree.
It's fun.
Okay, Albany,
Life is
Georgia.
fun.
I love Albany, Georgia.
I love it too.
That's an easy place to have fun. Y'all have got some great boiled peanuts there in Albany.
That is correct.
Yeah.
We do. We do.
Where do you, if you're going to get boiled peanuts, where are you going? Are you going to a gas station? Do you make them? Are you like getting them from someone else? What's your system?
I have made them, and it was not as hard as I thought it might be.
Uh-huh.
But if I'm going to pick some up, I go to Mark's Melon Patch.
Okay,
out
Mark's
Highway 82.
Mark's Melon Patch on Highway 82. I do not know them, but I am going to ask them to mail me some. Thank you, Jennifer, for doing this. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, if you need anything else from me, you know I'm embarrassingly easy to find. Annie F. Downs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the places you may need me. That's how you can find me. And I think that's it for me today, friends. Go out or stay home and do something that sounds fun to you. I will do the same. Today, what sounds fun to me? What does sound fun to me today? This weekend is really quiet for me, so what sounds fun to me today? Make fun of me if you want, but today I'm going to make my list of everything I want to do this weekend and everything I need to get accomplished so that I can have a proper day of rest on Saturday, and that all has to happen tomorrow. So it sounds fun to me to make some lists, so I'm on it. Y'all have a great weekend. I hope you get some rest, and we'll see you back here on Monday with my future tour mate and one of our favorite humans around here, Carlos Whitaker. We'll see y'all then.